In this video, I'm going to talk about all the different gear I use on a typical match day when shooting professional sports, mostly professional football or soccer here in the UK. So let's just dive straight in. So I carry 3 DSLR camera bodies in my case on any given match day. My main body is a Canon 1DX Mark II, and just to set the scene at this point, all my bodies I have bought used at some point. Nothing is ever brand new due to financial reasons. Now, despite my love and fascination of mirrorless bodies, and I'm desperate to make that transition at some point to mirrorless, right now to get the kind of bodies I need to be able to shoot under really poor lighting conditions at high speed, which is professional football through most of the winter season here in the UK, the Canon 1DX Mark II is the best I could afford a few months back, or the best I could justify to spend money on. Now, the 1DX Mark II might be getting on in age now, but it is still a formidable camera. I think it shoots 14 frames per second in terms of bursts and has, I think, a 20.2 megapixel sensor. If you want to do video, it'll shoot in 4K. It's weather sealed, it's rugged. I just love it. It's really, really good camera, and upgrading from my second body, which I'll talk about in a minute, to this one about 18 months ago really helped me to kind of elevate my photography at night, because I was really starting to struggle in the middle of winter when you get really bad weather conditions under poor floodlights. But the 1DX Mark II has really helped me out in that sense. My second body is my Canon 1D Mark IV, and I've had this for probably 10 years or more now. And like all my bodies, as I say, I always buy used. Now, the 1D Mark IV is an absolute workhorse. If you've watched many of my videos before, you're probably quite aware of how much I love this thing. But it was really starting to show its age and struggle with the volume of shots I was taking in really bad light constantly several days a week. And so last year, that is why I invested in the next body. It was a change I needed to make anyway, but I have already had the shutter replaced once on the 1D Mark IV, and so I continue to use it. Now, I generally pair it with a big 400mm 2.8 lens, so it is still getting lots of action on match day, but it is at the moment my second body. It has been with me through my best photography moments, frankly. It's done, I think, 4 Wembley finals, 2 promotions, lots of big cup games and league games and different things, and I've got lots of fond memories and photos that I cherish from the 1D Mark IV. So even when I do eventually retire it, it will almost certainly end up on a shelf somewhere, maybe in a little Perspex box, to remember all the great memories it's given me down the years. I reckon I've probably shot over 500 professional football matches with that, and that's forgetting all the other little events and family things and jobs that you end up doing when anyone knows that you have a camera. And the third camera in my case is a Canon EOS 80D. Quite a random camera, I know. I bought this as I was working on a documentary film a couple of years ago and needed a really easy body to use for that would also shoot stills at a decent rate as well if I did need it for sports, which I have used it quite a lot for sports, not so much now. The 80D is brilliant. It will shoot 1080 video, so HD video, which I obviously found really useful when making a film. It's also a crop sensor, so when I was using a 300mm lens on that body a few years ago, it gave me a little bit of extra distance again, so to speak. So it's a great camera, and I still have it for 2 reasons. One, to make YouTube videos like this and any other video job that comes in, because I don't do any of it frequently enough to really invest up to something better. But also, I have it in my bag, and I'll often put a wide angle lens on it just in case you get a celebration in football. If the players come really close, then my lens, which I'll come on to, my primary lens, my 70-200, sometimes the players come a little bit close. So having a wide angle lens permanently mounted on the 80D just gives me that ability to switch at a moment's notice to grab any shots that require a bit of a wider lens. Let's move on to lenses, and my main lens, and I absolutely adore it, is a Canon 70-200 2.8 Mark II lens. I did have the Mark I before this. I did try a Tamron and a Sigma a decade or so ago, before I moved on to the Canon 70 to 200 mils, and it's just a brilliant bit of glass. It is the first proper lens, as I say, I bought when I started doing an awful lot of football photography, however many years ago that was. And the Mark II is just a step above. Again, it is super sharp. It produces sublime shots. It's great for sports, but it's also great for portrait photos, or when I've got my daughter playing in the garden in the summer, if she's playing with bubbles or in a little car or something. It makes great photos just to get that lens out, add it to your camera, and it produces just the nicest of shots, I think. So the 70-200 2.8 Mark II lens, if I was getting into sports photography today, it is still a lens I'd try and buy first. I think it gives you great versatility. It does go down to 2.8 so when you're shooting in all that bad light, it gives you half a chance, no matter what body you're on, of getting a usable shot. I position myself on, when I'm shooting football, I try and position myself either side of the goal, on the goal line, off towards the corner flag, if you like, if that makes sense. And the 70-200 mil will always be mounted on my 1DX Mark II as my primary setup. That kind of setup is always around my neck, and I'm using that to get all the penalty area action, all the goal celebrations, the tackles, the shots on goals, and anything else. It's also good for getting wingers and fullbacks kind of flying towards you, and getting some great shots with that. Now, the next lens is the Canon 400mm f2.8L lens. It's a legendary lens. It is super old. It is one of the original that was produced, so it does weigh about as much as a small family car. And so it is always mounted onto a monopod when I'm shooting, because you could not hope to get any sort of shot or stability without a monopod for it. I will pair that with my 1D Mark IV and say, when I've got my 1DX Mark II with my 70-200mm around my neck, the 400mm on the monopod with the second body will always be next to me here, resting on my shoulder, or depending on the side of the pitch I am, this shoulder. And that makes it nice and easy to switch between the two. If you've ever wondered how photographers do that, by the way, there's a video on my channel all about handling two cameras at the same time during a game. The 400mm gives me incredible length, sometimes too much length. It allows me to get super photos of kind of the midfield and also the back four. Or if you want any real close-ups when players are close up, as in pretty much just the section of their face in shot, which sometimes has its uses, then again the 400mm produces some great things with that in mind. The wide-angle lens that I use is a Canon 17-40mm f4 lens. This I keep, normally, as I said, in a game of football, I will have this mounted on my ATD just in case anything happens during a game really up close that I need a wide angle lens for. Obviously, when you're pitch side, you haven't got time to be swapping lenses as and when the action comes towards you. The lens is also really useful before a game. I'll put it on my 1DX Mark II long before the game starts and get some stadium images, so some general view shots with that as well. So it just allows you to get everything you need. And that's why those three lenses are the ones I have. I also have another lens, which I'll touch on in a minute, that I don't use really for football, but it is always in my bag. But between certainly the three I've mentioned thus far, it gives me great versatility, wide, telephoto and super telephoto. So I think I've got everything covered off and always to hand during a game. The last lens to mention, which is always in my bag, is a Canon EF 50mm lens. I think it's a 1.8. It's a great bit of glass. I'm sure it cost me like £50, probably 10 years ago. I use it a lot on more so for like media days and head and shoulders shots, because the photos out of it are just sublime, to be honest. But yeah, it's so small I keep it in my bag just in case I need it on a match day, which is very, very rare indeed. Let's quickly touch on some of the other gear I have with me on a match day then. The monopod is something I've mentioned already. This screws into that big 400mm lens, takes the weight of the lens, and gives me that maneuverability to follow the action with it when I need to. It also allows me to have that other camera around my neck, so I've constantly got two cameras a split second away from me for when the action develops. My monopod wasn't particularly expensive. Strictly speaking, I should really be using a slightly more heavy duty one, I think, but this has never let me down with the 300 or the 400mm lens. It's rugged. I've been using it since at least this one, since 2017, I think, on a variety of the big old Canon 300 and now 400mm lenses. it does the job fine, and hopefully it's got another at least 5 or so years ahead of it. Stool is the next thing to look at. My little plastic telescopic stool that screws up to pretty much any height you want it to, which is really handy when you're shooting sports, not just football, by the way, because if you've got fans or spectators sat behind you, or there's hoardings or other photographers, there's a whole range of reasons when you need that flexibility of being able to change the height of the stool, and this stool gives me that flexibility. It folds up nice and flat and just goes around the handle on my bag when I'm not sat on it, which makes transporting it, in addition to everything else I've got, nice and easy. In the grand scheme of things, it's fairly cheap. This is the third one I think I've had off Amazon. The first one was absolute rubbish, but when they brought the second one out, that was slightly more robust. And now this third one has a slightly larger seat and is even more robust in terms of being able to take the weight of the larger guy, such as myself. Next up, memory cards. I use CF memory cards. So I've got, I think, 4 or 5 memory cards. I would like to use CF Express, but given the amount of times I lose memory cards, I'm not willing to take the risk with a CF Express card because they're obviously really, really pricey. CF cards, quite old technology, but I find them pretty trustworthy. I've rarely ever had problems with them, other than me leaving them behind at games, leaving them pitch side when it is absolutely in the middle of a storm, and then appealing on Twitter for ground staff to please help me find said memory card. But yeah, the CF cards, I've got quite a few. I've also got SD cards. So the SD card is for the 80D. If I'm using that, the CF cards work in both the 1DX Mark II and the 1D Mark IV. I also carry 2 memory card readers with me, and you might be asking why I need 2, because CF and SD cards go into them both. And the reason is probably 2 or 3 times in the last 5-6 years, I've been left without a card reader and without a way of getting images onto my laptop during a game, purely because they've broke or I've maybe dropped them in a puddle or something else. And so the last time that happened was in January. I was up at Barrow in the north of England, probably about a 2 to 3 hour drive from here. Midway through the first half, the memory card reader broke and I wasn't able to send any of those images until I got home at night. I think the game finished just before 5 p.m. I got home probably around 10 p.m. by the time I'd finished up and everything and driven home. It's so late, it's too late really to be sending your images in. If you're working for an agency as well, then you know, I definitely recommend taking 2 memory card readers. I have got 2 different ones, one slightly more expensive and quicker than the other, but both will do the job if one or the other one breaks. I've got these trusty lens wipes always in my bag as well. I bought a box of goodness knows how many of these a few years ago and I've never had to buy any more. They are absolutely brilliant for cleaning your lenses. Obviously, still be really careful when wiping any of the glass elements, but I find them really good. They're also great for laptop screens, for your glasses if you wear glasses, and for just about anything else as well. So I always make sure I've got at least about 10 lens wipes on me at any given time. I also carry a power bank on me at all times. I can't remember the model number, but I will check it out and put it in the description below. This is a RAV Power power bank. They do it in the US and also the UK, and it allows here in the UK you to put that traditional three pin plug into it as if you're charging something up off the mains. And the reason I invested in this, and I think the price of these has only gone up over time, was because my beloved MacBook, like I believe all MacBooks, have this habit of dying when the weather is quite cold. I think it's a mechanism actually to protect the battery. But when this first happened to me, I was on the touchline shooting a game in Yorkshire during the COVID behind closed doors season. It was super cold. It was a Tuesday night in November, I think. And after about 20 minutes, the laptop, my MacBook just went off and I had no way to bring that back to life. It was a stadium that didn't have a media room. It was also during COVID time, so I couldn't just go into the reception and plug in because, you know, you weren't allowed in anywhere. And so I couldn't, again, touch the photos until I got home and got my camera and my laptop back on charge. Now, even if it is still really cold, if you plug your MacBook into power supply, it will come back to life and work. So I invested in this power brick after that, and anytime my MacBook dies in the winter at pitch side, I just plug it into the power bank and off we go again. And normally it will get to the end of the game plugged into that. My laptop is a 2016 MacBook Pro with that lovely, slightly gimmicky touch bar. I absolutely love this. I was a Windows man for many years, had so many laptops, they seemed to give up the ghost after maybe 3 or 4 years. And I'd always longed for a Mac, so I took the plunge in early 2017, I think. So this had come out, I think, the previous October. So it was the latest model at the time. And it still works almost like new today. It is absolutely brilliant. I've had it battered all over the place and it still works brilliantly. So my investment, I think, has more than paid me back. And I hope I've got quite a few years left in it as of yet. Filters, I do carry a few filters with me, nothing very expensive. There's always a protective filter on my 70 to 200mm lens. I've got a few star filters, which are quite cheap and nasty, but were fun for 5 minutes in my bag. Sometimes I think I also carry an ND filter, maybe a polarizing filter, those types of things, but I very seldom use them, but they're in the bag just in case. And last but not least, as far as equipment is concerned, this is free. Well, not quite free, it's pennies, but I always carry a bit of kitchen towel or kitchen paper with me. And this is because a number of times you get, or you're sat in the middle of really heavy rainstorms and you can have all the rain covers on you want, or maybe some mud will flick up and hit the barrel of your lens or something off the pitch, and you've got nothing to wipe it off with. Well, if you've got a load of kitchen towel in your bag, it is great for giving the outside, so not the glass elements, the outside of your camera bodies or your lenses a dry off before you pack them away or before you put them back in the car. It's great for removing mud off things. It's just really handy to have. In fact, that reminds me that I do need to top my supply back up in my camera bag before my next game. And then lastly, in terms of the bags themselves, I still use this really old Pelly case I bought in 2017. It was used then. I had to do a repair on the wheels, one of which had lost its circular shape. So I found a great tutorial on YouTube about changing the wheels to those of skate wheels, off rollerblades, I think they were. And ever since then, this Pelly case has been fantastic. I think I paid about £90 for it back in 2017, and it has brilliantly served me since, although is a little bit small now given the amount of gear I use on match day. And so as a result of that, I'm still using this really archaic backpack, which is split and battered, but just about holds the 400mm lens and my laptop. I really need to upgrade it and review my camera bag and my camera case situation, but I don't quite know what to buy. So if you've got any suggestions on bags and cases for me, please put them in the comments below. And that's it in terms of what I use to shoot football here in the UK. That is what's in my bag. I'll see you on the next video.